Hey, my name is Kairo. Strictly speaking, I am unemployed, and in today's video, we will be reacting to this woman who is making $175,000 a year in New York and Atlanta. We'll see how she's doing it. Let's get some of that inspo on, and this is the CNBC Make It Millennial Money video that we are reacting to. Now, before we dive in, there are other YouTubers who react to these Millennial Money videos. I'm sure you know the kingpin of YouTube finance, Graham Stephan. He does his A Millionaire React, so I'm going to do it from the opposite end of the spectrum because at the moment, because of 2020, I'm now unemployed. So I guess this will be Unemployed Reacts or Unemployed Person Reacts or something like that. I don't quite identify as unemployed yet. However, if you want to see how I go from being unemployed to having a net worth of over $1 million within the next couple of years, make sure you sub, because that's what this channel is all about. All right, now let's dive in to how this woman is making 175 large every year.
My favorite part about being a nanny is getting to be around the kids. I feel like I get to be a kid myself, running and jumping and flipping and tossing the kids in the air. It's just really fun for me.
All right, first few seconds in, she's making 175,000 as a nanny. Like, oh, my jaw dropped completely when I first heard that. That is incredible. She must be working for some super high net worth individuals, or I don't know, maybe having some other kind of side hustles, because my sister worked as a nanny and she definitely was not earning this much money. Otherwise, I would not be buying her lunch that often.
It requires so much energy, and I really enjoy the energy that the kids bring to it. And so each day is different. My name is Brieonna Johnson. I am 29 years old. I make $175,000 per year, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and New York City, New York.
The commute between those two places must be pretty tricky, but I think for $175,000, she probably doesn't mind having to have, I don't know, a couple of toothbrushes.
I am a nanny. Pre-COVID, my schedule was 1 week on in New York and then 1 week on in Atlanta. And so usually I'd work 7.
Oh my God, it's $130,000 from the family in New York, and then the Atlanta family is like $30,000. Let's check out how that is divided in terms of a time.
I'd work 7 days straight in New York City, and then in Atlanta, I'd work anywhere from 3 to 5 days.
Oh, she's only been working her Atlanta job in 2020 because of the pandemic. So that is pretty crazy. She's working 7 days on in New York. So that's pretty full time from my experience. And with my sister having been a nanny, I can tell that it's pretty taxing, pretty time intensive. But to be making $130,000 from that job seems like an outlier. I'm not sure. We'll have a look how much the average nanny earns in the US. Let's check that out. According to Glassdoor, the average nanny salary in New York City is $33,000 a year, and that's 12% above the national average. So that is incredible that she is making an extra $100,000 on top of that. That is insane.
He is continuing to pay me while I'm not working with them. And so for them, it was really important to kind of stay at home and stay in place. And so they've let go of a lot of their staff on paid leave. And I'm in contact with them every week. They know that they want me to return, and so they're paying me in hopes that I will return to them.
Of course she's going to return to that family. She's getting paid $130,000 a year. She got paid that the whole of 2020 without having to go to work. I'm pretty confident that she will return as soon as she is able, because that is some amazing bling. And she has been kept on payroll despite them having gotten rid of a lot of their other staff. So we can only imagine the net worth of the family that's employing her. Wow, they must be earning so much money to just have a whole army of staff members. Okay, so she's making a lot of money now that she has that free time for not having to go to work in New York City. She's using that to make extra money in side hustles. So that is incredible. They don't say what those side hustles are. Maybe she's doing some moonlight nannying on the side in Atlanta, in addition to her Atlanta family.
And as I was nearing graduation and I was looking and considering teaching, I got my first teaching offer and it was very low. And at first I had like student loans and things. So I wasn't quite sure how I was going to pay that off, but I discovered nanny agencies. And it was like a whole new world opened up where I discovered like nannies can get paid benefits and full-time hours and like guaranteed hours, and that we can travel and live in. And so once I discovered that, it was easy for me to like quickly decide that I was going to be a full-time nanny as my career.
Yeah, that's crazy. Back in the day when I was in university, I started a tutoring business. I did that for 8 years, and we were making way more than the average teacher salary from doing private tuition. So I can only imagine that as a private nanny, you're there with the family for longer hours. You could be live in, not have to pay accommodation expenses, maybe even get food subsidies as well. So you could end up saving loads and loads of money just by being a live-in nanny. And then getting, for these high net worth individuals, they value their children so much that they're willing to pay a premium to make sure that their children get the best care. And that is something that she has locked in on for sure.
My dad, he always worked 2 jobs. He always worked in insurance and he was a waiter. And that kind of instilled that mentality in myself as well. And even now, if I lose one nanny job, I have another nanny job. And so I think it's just been really important for me to have that, and just that financial security that it's brought to me has been great.
She is a nanny hustler. This is the biggest nanny hustler I've ever seen. She's an absolute champ, absolute legend. Brieonna, you are crushing this. I'm jealous, but in the best kind of way.
I wasn't making what I wanted to make, and so I applied to another job that was also, it was week on, week off.
Hold up. Her starting salary for the family in New York was $70,000, and she's like, I wasn't making what I wanted to make. So, I mean, that's face melt. That's brilliant. So she's negotiating her salary now, and she was already getting $70,000, and incredible.
And they offered me $120,000 per year for just one child, same schedule, housing provided, things like that. So I came to the family that I was working for in New York City, and I let them know that that was the schedule that they were providing, and they offered a $60,000 per year raise.
I'm becoming a Manny. Where do I sign up? I'm sure my contact at the unemployment office will have quite a laugh if I ring her up on Monday and be like, hey, okay, I know I was having this successful Airbnb business, and if you want to know more about that, click the link in the cards or in the description. And then 2020 happened, and then now there's no more tourism, so I become a YouTuber, and then I call her up on Monday and say, actually, I'm becoming a Manny.
With the agreement that I stay with them long term. So it was very nerve-wracking. I was super nervous, basically coming to them prepared to quit, and I did not in any way expect them to offer such a large raise, which is why I was prepared to quit, because I didn't want to ask for that. But they were happy to provide what I needed to stay, and that included things like flights and hotels on my off weeks, and just some great benefits that I didn't have before. And it made it an easy decision for me to stay.
An easy decision for her to stay. Her base salary was $70,000. Then they gave her an extra $60,000 to make sure she stayed. Plus, they're giving her flights on her off weeks and hotels. Yeah. Who is this family, and can I meet them?
Being a live-in nanny both in New York City and living with the family in Atlanta, I'm not charged any rent or utilities. At times, it can definitely be stressful, initially, especially setting up.
I mean, that's the best thing. I mean, housing is the most expensive expense for pretty much anyone, whether you're renting, whether you have a mortgage. So, even though I'm on unemployment now, my unemployment check would not be going very far if I had to still pay for housing. So luckily, through my Airbnb business, I managed to rent hack so that the rental expense that I would otherwise have to pay is out of the question. Otherwise, I don't think that unemployment check will be going very far, especially living in a big city like London.
both my place in New York City and here, I have like double of everything. So that's double the expenses. And so a lot of times like I'll be looking for something and I'll realize I only have one of it and it's in New York, or I have to, watch the weather to make sure that I'm like, when I'm leaving Atlanta, that I'm dressed properly to go back to like cold New York City. So it's definitely hectic, and I always keep a suitcase packed and I always keep toiletries and everything I need in there. But just setting up both rooms initially was a lot.
All right, so I imagine with CNBC Make It, they're going to ask loads of different questions and then they'll cut little bits from whatever she says. So Brieonna might not even have intended for that really to be a focal point in the video. But that is a first world problem, right? You're earning so much money, $175,000 a year, and your problem is living between two very nice rooms or very nice places that you do not pay for and you actually get paid to be at. Plus you've got the hotels in the off days and incredible. So yeah, I'm pretty sure she could use some of that extra money to she could have a private butler bring her another toothbrush on a silver platter whenever she forgets hers in the other city.
The most important lesson I've learned about money is having a budget. It's critical. If you don't know where your money is going, it's really difficult to save or pay off debt.
Ooh, pretty gruff. Okay, so Brieonna's estimated monthly spending, $8,234, $175,000 a year, so that's around $15,000 a month. So yeah, she's pretty much spending almost around 50% of her monthly income. So that's pretty decent. And a lot of that is going towards debt repayment, student loans, credit cards, and that student debt is terrifying. I wouldn't like that. I'm really glad I don't have any of that stuff. Then savings, she's putting almost $2,000 a month into a simple IRA, Roth IRA. So that's really good. She's planning for her future. $700 for food. That seems pretty high, $700 for food. I mean, that's almost my entire unemployment check. So yeah, we'll have a listen to what she's spending that on. That's kind of cray. $400 for therapy. Okay, treating her mental health with respect. Beauty and clothes, $280. Entertainment, $200. Gifts, $150. Rideshare services, $125. Family support, $100. Let's hear if she breaks it down further.
It's been well worth it for me to have balanced meals. It's just really important. I believe like health is wealth, and I'm a terrible cook, so there's that. But ultimately, I love being able to have someone come and cook for me and prepare all of these things that I'm just too exhausted to do. It works out great.
Okay, so it's $600 a month, and the chef cooks for her during her off weeks. So again, we're not sure if the chef is cooking for her every day during those off weeks, if the chef just comes in and like prepares a whole bunch of food and freezes a lot of it. So we're not sure about that. But basically, let's say that is probably $280 roughly per week that the chef is there working for her. And if she were to be ordering all those meals, from Postmates or from Deliveroo or from Uber Eats or any of those kind of things, she would be paying, even from Chipotle would be probably $15 at least. I mean, a burrito, it says a burrito is $10, $9. So yeah, for probably $15, and then with the delivery fee as well, that's a few more dollars, maybe a tip as well. So let's say $20 if she was ordering, probably even more than that, $20, $25. She does that 7 days. That is already $150, and that's just from, ordering one meal a day from something like Postmates. So yeah, maybe having this private chef is not a bad idea. It also depends on if that includes the grocery bill, which I highly doubt that it would, because when I went to visit New York and I went to Whole Foods, whole paycheck decimated my wallet. Yeah, I was there on holiday, so I didn't really know any better, but maybe she can shop at like a local market where it's cheaper. Or quite possibly at this place in New York, they might just have the groceries and say, hey, you can use these groceries. So she might just be paying that $600 to the chef for his expertise and time and all that kind of stuff. Also, Brieonna's pretty much flexing as a millionaire would flex right now, because having a private chef is definitely something that, you know, the average person doesn't think is really possible and is more in the realm of millionaire lifestyle stuff. So she's doing it on only $600 a month. So kudos to Brieonna for managing to have that millionaire lifestyle on only $600 a month in terms of the private chef.
Generally, I fly standby. And if I'm unable to make a flight, the family in New York City, they will actually pay my cost. So if after 2 hours I'm unable to get on a flight, they will book my flight for me.
Man, that is amazing. Seriously, this family in New York, they're a bunch of angels. They're a pack of wealthy angels. So the New York family actually pays for Brieonna to fly when her boyfriend can't get her on a standby flight. So that's pretty incredible. I wish I could do the same for you for watching this video. The best I can do though is give you a link to Webull, and if you fund your account by $100, you get 4 free stocks. Each of those stocks valued up to $1,600. So that offer ends pretty soon. The link is down below.
When the pandemic hit, I realized that I could be let go. And it was at a time that a lot of people weren't hiring for nannies.
$4,000 worth of credit card debt. I don't really understand. I mean, she could sneeze and pay that off in a month. So I'm not really sure about that. And the interest rate on that credit card debt is probably quite high. So I would probably say it's better for her to get rid of that credit card debt. And yeah, I've got a couple of videos on how to improve your credit score up there and what you should be doing with credit card debt. So check that out up in the cards right now and in the description. Watch those after.
I started off with around $25,000 in student loan debt and around $13,000 in credit card debt. It really just kind of changed my mindset, and I started like aggressively saving and aggressively paying off debt, because I realized, like, at least if I am let go, if I have savings and I am debt free, I will be in a lot better position than I would be if I had all these additional bills.
I mean, the family in New York has paid her salary for the whole of 2020, even though she didn't have to go to work. So she could easily use that money to pay off a whole bunch of her debt very, very quickly. And she could use that money going forward, putting a lot more into index funds. She could start buying property, and then, you know, even using a property manager to deal with the tenants. She could do Airbnb. That's like my wheelhouse, but she could pay a property manager to worry about the guests so she doesn't have any more stresses involved, but she still gets to get that sweet cash flow every month.
I read Dave Ramsey's Money Makeover book, and from there I got inspired to get debt free. But shortly after, I discovered an article about the FIRE movement and people retiring in their 30s and 40s. I've just made it my mission to max out $19,500 because I really want to retire early, and I want to retire where I have income coming in and that I'm set financially. And so just realizing a lot of people my age don't have that.
I mean, $19,500, maxing that out, that is amazing. But yeah, like I said, she could definitely put a lot more of her monthly income towards index investing, and it's like relatively low risk, and it compounds over time, can really set her up very well for later on in life. And I think she should start like getting into real estate. I mean, she has enough money to put down payments. Interest rates are pretty low at the moment as well, so it's definitely worth something for her to consider.
And, you know, even seeing where my parents are at now, I'm trying to put myself in a better position. So I'd love to continue in this career for at least the next 10 years. I know my family in New York is hoping that I'll stay until their child is 18, so we'll have to see about that.
I mean, things will start getting so much easier for her as the child gets older, because she's not the chef, she's not the cook, she's not the cleaner. They have other staff members to do that. And as the child gets older, the child becomes more autonomous, so her job, in theory, I mean, don't hate me if I'm wrong, but should get easier. And that means she'd be still probably getting even more money, because she's not shy about asking for pay increases. She's very money savvy. She should be even making more money for doing less work. That's like the dream.
But I love what I do, and I love kind of the freedom that it allows me to have.
That box of crayons, $20,000 worth of crayons.
Yeah?
Rainbow.
No? about those? Balancing my personal life with such an involved job has been very difficult for me. Just maintaining friendships, maintaining my relationship has been a big struggle for me. Initially, I was working like full-time in New York and full-time here in Atlanta. And I've cut back here in Atlanta, and COVID has kind of helped with that.
Brieonna could very well be working less than other working professionals that are in a similar income bracket to her. I'm sure she works fewer hours than, for example, a lawyer might. She's probably earning more money than some doctors even. So she, if you average it out, is getting paid very well per hour that she works.
Just to be able to ensure that I'm able to maintain my relationship, which is really important to me, and especially my friendships as well, who want the chance to see me.
But yeah, it can definitely be taxing on a relationship and friendships if she's between two different cities all the time. Atlanta one week, New York the other week, Atlanta one week, New York again. That yo-yoing between the two places can be tricky. But because she is so well set up, she basically has all her living expenses paid for in each of those places. It's comfortable. Her boyfriend works for an airline, so she flies standby, gets free flights. If she doesn't get a free flight, the family in New York pay for her flight. She is pretty well set. So I can't believe how brilliantly she has this all set up for herself.
Often I feel like the career as a nanny is undervalued and often underpaid as well. Even myself, I started off making $400 a month, total. And so I wanted to show that there is another way to make money and that there are positions out there for people who are truly interested in kids and love what they do.
Man, hands up for Brieonna. She is the nanny queen, the nanny legend. And I find that really heartwarming that she started off only making $400 a month. Now, yeah, she started off only making $400. I bet you that was only part-time work. But she still stuck with it because she enjoyed it and she saw the future potential. And that's very similar to me with YouTube at the moment. And I'm also a musician. If you can find something that you really enjoy doing, then you don't mind necessarily if you're not making big bucks straight away. So yeah, hopefully with YouTube over the next couple of years, it starts to compound, and that is essentially what Brieonna has done. She started working for a relatively small amount of money, and it escalated really quickly, especially when she started working for their family in New York. So round of applause. Brieonna, you are an inspiration to many, and I'm sure lots of other people are going to be watching these videos and be like, oh my God, I'm becoming a nanny. So keep investing that money, Brieonna. Invest more in index funds. Get into real estate. You will easily accomplish fat fire at the rate you are going. And then you'll be able to live pretty much very comfortable life on passive income. You're an inspiration. Thank you so much for doing this video with CNBC Make It. And thank you for watching my reaction to it. Remember, you can get 4 free stocks from Webull if you click the link in the description. And that's basically free money, and I get a little bit as well. So that's helping me get closer to my $1 million hustle goal. So thanks for that as well. Now crush the like button and subscribe. Join me as I go from unemployment to my goal of over $1 million in the next 3 years. Watch these videos next. I'll see you in there, and let's hustle together.